All right, folks.
Yep.
Good evening. As usual, I'll read to you the last 7 daily inspirational titles. Hello, Wendy.
Hi.
And then you guys can go ahead and choose one of them, and then we can start from there. Okay, the last 5. Okay, January 27th. Truth is not somewhere out there. It is within you. January 28th. How are you choosing to carry your past? January 29th. Gratitude and the gift of free will. January 30th, where does the healing of this planet begin? January 31st, the gift of undivisible love. All right. February 1st, the thoughts you support shape the life you live. And February 2nd is words show us the state of our hearts and minds.
I like words show us.
Words show us? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's begin with words show us. This is the February 2nd daily inspiration message. The condensed version is 2 paragraphs long. I'll go ahead and read those 2 paragraphs, and then I'll make some comments, and we'll go from there. All right. Words show us the state of our hearts and minds. Paragraph 1. People who are fully healed do not use hurtful words. Only those who are themselves hurt others. Words, as verbal manifestations of thoughts, show us where we are within our hearts and minds. Today, let us pay special attention to the words we use and allow them to show us our internal condition. Let us pay close attention to how our words are always guiding us to a world of pain or a place of peace. Today, let us allow our words to lead us in leaving the world of anger, sorrow, resentment, and regret behind. By doing so, we behold a world where the peace and joy of God reside. The more conscious we become of our words, the more responsibility we take for them. Thus, the more control we have in our own growth, healing, and awakening process. Paragraph 2. Today, let our goal be to align our words with our all-loving source. Through our words, today we represent God, love on earth. When our words are aligned with love or any of its expressions, such as kindness, peace, joy, and hope, let us feel fulfilled knowing we are doing what we were created by God to do. If our words are out of alignment with love, let us not judge ourselves or others. Instead, let us use the opportunity as a sign that shows us where along our path we need to correct our thinking. Having used even our unaligned words to assist us in our journey, let us offer them our gratitude for their service to us. They have helped us recall who we no longer desire to be. This, in turn, has given us a better understanding of who we truly are and desire to share with others. End of paragraph 2. Okay. So the basic idea here is whatever you have within you is manifested and expressed in the words that you use, right? So if you're feeling joyful, you will usually express joyful words. If you're feeling peaceful, you will express peaceful words. If you're feeling angry or resentful, you will express unloving words. And so the words themselves show you where you are within your heart and mind. Are you in heaven or hell inside of your heart and mind? Well, your words show you where you are, if you're aligned with heaven or with hell. And so we can use our words to not only begin and support our own healing by aligning our words with the love that we are, and thus our words come from a loving place. Thus they reinforce our foundation, which is love, the love that God created us to be. So when we are reinforcing our foundation, which is love, then we feel more fulfilled because we're doing what God created us to do. Okay? When we're using unloving words, no matter how much the ego says we should be using those words, we will always feel a lack of peace, a lack of alignment, a lack of love. Because we're doing not what we were created to do by God, we're doing what we were programmed to do by the ego. And so the ego's judgment-centric, fear-based mindset is in control of our thoughts. And if the ego is in control of our thoughts, then it's in control of our mind and thus life, right? So now by the words that you're using, if you pay attention to the words that you're using during the day towards your brothers and sisters, that is showing you whose guidance you're following. Are you following God's guidance? Are you following the ego's guidance? Are you following love's guidance? Or are you following fear's guidance? Judgment? Forgiveness or judgment? Peace or pain? Okay? So now we can use our words, even our so-called unloving words. Okay? Let's say somebody triggers us and the ego says to us, hey, judge them because they said something that was very unkind. But you're not really here for that, right? But you just do what the ego says because that's kind of like, that's just your natural programming. So the ego answers first and loudest, so you follow the ego's advice, and you answer judgment with judgment, right? So you use judgmental words. But where does that lead you? It leads you to a place of regret, resentment, frustration, confusion, guilt, shame, right? So if all of the ego's recommendations lead you to regret, shame, and guilt, why continue to follow the ego's advice even when the ego says that its advice is proper, right? And so the idea is to catch yourself when you're following the ego's advice. Okay, I'm gonna use a loving thought. I'm thinking of a loving thought, which is gonna turn out into an unloving word. Okay, that simply means that I'm following the ego's advice. I'm not doing what God created me to do, which is to be a light in the world, to be a light in this situation with my brothers and sisters. And so I'm not going to feel fulfilled. So I know that. So let me stop that word even before it comes out of my thoughts, even before the thought becomes a word. You stop it inside of your mind and you say, no, I'm not going to use that judgmental word because I've used that before when the ego says it's okay to do so, and it never delivers me the state of peace. Okay, so I know where this road takes me. I'm not going to do that anymore. So I stop that thought inside my mind. I stop it, and then I correct it. I correct it from an unloving thought to a loving thought, or a thought of compassion. Well, there's many branches to love, right? There's compassion, kindness, generosity, peace, healing, hope. So you shift that word from the judgmental, fear-based, to a loving thought, maybe a compassionate thought, maybe a thought of understanding, and then you let the thought become a word of compassion or understanding. Okay? So now because your word is love, is a loving word, right? It comes from a loving thought. And that loving thought comes from God, right? And so you're doing, in this moment, you're doing what God is guiding you to do and think and say. And so that's how we begin to let go of our unloving thoughts and start supporting our loving thoughts. And this way we can see whose guidance we're following. And now, when we're following the ego's guidance and we're using an unloving thought, now we know what's happening, but we're not going to punish ourselves for that. We're not going to punish ourselves for using an unloving judgmental thought. Okay? Now we're just going to use this word that came out, this judgmental word. We're going to use it to recognize that this is not what I want. Okay? So this judgmental thought, word that the ego had you think and say, that leads you to nowhere, the ego will then have you judge yourself for judging your brothers or sisters, okay? So the ego recommends that you judge your brothers or sisters. Then the ego has you condemn yourself for judging your brothers and sisters, right? That's the ego's little trip, because the ego wants you to sink deeper and deeper into this darkness, right? And despair. Okay? So now when we're stuck, when we find ourselves using the judgmental word, we simply recognize, okay, wait, I don't belong here, okay? Now I'm going to correct my thinking. Now I'm going to use this word, this judgmental word, to show me that I'm somewhere within my heart and within my mind where I do not belong. Okay? So now you use these quote unquote negative words not to punish yourself or others, but to help you see that you're somewhere you do not belong. And so you see, now you can use even the bad for good. Now you can use even the judgmental words to help you realize this is not where I belong. I belong here, aligned with love and expressing what love, God would have me express. And so now you don't use this to punish yourself. You use this to bring yourself up to source. So now even the bad becomes good, because now you use your mistakes. The Course in Miracles says mistakes call for correction, nothing else, right? So you use this mistake in judgment to correct it, consciously correct it, and take back control of your mind. And you're in control of your mind and your thoughts when your thoughts are loving in nature. That's when the truth in you is in control of your thoughts. And so that's basically what is meant by the February 2nd daily inspiration. Words show us the state of our hearts and minds. Any comments or questions?
Well, I have a miracle to report on that account.
Right.
So, I was in Raven's room this morning and I just asked her a question about something she did, and she got very unhappy with me, not like yelling or anything, but why do you always have to ask me? Blah, 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 just basically telling me to leave her alone. And so I was, I was irritated. I didn't say anything back. I said, all right. I just left. And I was irritated, because she's irritating me. But by the time I got to work, I listened to my Carol Howe, blah, 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 whatever. And by the time I got to work, I thought, I don't want to be irritated all day. And she's irritated. So what's a loving response to that? What happened? So I called her and I just said, I understand what you're saying, that you don't like to be questioned. And so I'm going to try to, do less of that, since you don't, that it bothers you. I said, why don't you just text me 3 to 5 things? I said, nothing major, but just 3 to 5 small things that bother you that I do. And I'll see what I can work on, because, try to be nice. And are you ready for this shocking development?
Yes.
I'm going to say I'm grateful when I'm done. That's how shocking this is. So, so anyway, she said, thank you. I appreciate that. And I said, okay, have a good day. And that's it. We hung up. Like 4:00 this afternoon, she sends me a text. I saved it in my phone because, like, in my notes, because I'm shocked. And her text said, this is going to come out of nowhere, but I'm sorry that I'm not as compassionate as I should be when you tell me things bother you. That's
Beautiful.
It's a miracle is what that is. I mean, like, that's a class A miracle in my world. And I was like, wow, that is, that's amazing. And it's funny because I realized that would not have occurred if I had not called her to say, I'm going to try not to do whatever this thing was that upset you, and tell me a few more things. I'll see what I can do, kind of thing. because I was feeling the exact opposite. My ego was all just like, this kid gets irritated when you open your mouth and breathe and she's living off of you for free. You know what I mean? Like, just, I was not pleased when I left, but I felt so uncomfortable that and so unhappy that I was like, well, I'm just going to be sitting here feeling upset all day if I don't do something. So I'm going to do the opposite of what I feel like doing. So anyway, that's what happened. It fits in only in the sense that you were talking about, like transmuting or, taking negative thoughts or words and changing them into something positive. So it worked the same way. I took something that was originally negative, although not horrible. I doubt I would be able to do this in a time of giant crisis, but for something small, that was a pretty good miracle. I'm pretty happy. And I'm
Well,
grateful, James. Open up your ears. Grateful.
It sounds, Wendy, it sounds like Raven mirrored your compassion.
I guess, we've had a number of talks recently and maybe this like kicked back up in her head. Thank you, because I was compassionate about it bothering her. I said to her a few weeks ago, the things that bother me, because she doesn't like it when I tell her, her room, whatever. I'm like, the things that cause me anxiety aren't going to match yours, but we both have anxiety issues. So you should understand what I'm telling you, you know? And so I don't know if that came back from that or if it's just from what happened this morning. I don't really care. It's a miracle no matter what. But since I want to try to repeat it, I should probably stop trying to dissect it. But since I'd like to repeat it, I would like to know what did it, you know?
But I think just being compassionate, I mean, I think that's all you have to repeat, right? And I love that opposite action. I've done that before. Do the opposite of how you feel. It really works.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
you're right. It does work. I didn't hear about that before. Opposite action. Is that like a,
That's like a therapeutic, like a DBT, or if you've heard of DBT
oh
technique.
yeah. I
Yeah.
heard of it. I wonder why maybe I learned it and forgot it. I know what that is exactly. So
Yeah.
I know what DBT is exactly because I did it with Raven together. So yeah. Oh, anyway, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
It was awesome.
yeah, there's a lesson in the Course in Miracles that says, "In my defenselessness, my safety lies."
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you repeat that, James?
it's in my defenselessness,
Uh,
my safety lies.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, and why is that? It's because, okay, Wendy, one of the first things she said was, she's irritating me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's because Wendy was believing in what Raven was saying. Okay, so Wendy made Raven's delusion seem real because of her belief in it, because of Wendy's belief in it. Okay, so it's not Raven to blame for what Raven said, because Raven is just saying something from a state of sleep. Okay, because if she was awake, she wouldn't say anything other than loving, kind, generous words, right? So here she is asleep, talking in her sleep, basically. Okay, even though she's awake, in quotes, but she's talking in her sleep, in her nightmare, let's call it, right? And then Wendy sees what Raven is saying as real and true. But the thing is that what Raven is saying is not real or true, because only the love in her is true, and only the love in Wendy is true, right? And so it's not Raven's job to make Wendy feel at peace. It's Wendy's job to reinterpret what Raven is saying. And Wendy should be saying to herself, okay, those words that she just said, those words that my ego, would want me and demand me to judge her for, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that this little game here never delivers to us a state of peace, never delivers to us joy in our hearts or peace in our minds. Judging somebody who's asleep, judging the words of somebody who's asleep, right? So what did Wendy do? Instead of reacting with judgment, which would be the normal response of the ego, she made the conscious decision not to react with condemnation to whatever the sleeping person said, but with compassion to what the sleeping person said.
Mhm.
And so that compassion awakened in Raven a crack in the darkness where the light can come in. And there, Raven experienced her own miracle. Okay? So because Wendy reacted with compassion instead of condemnation, Raven was able to come to a place of light instead of remain asleep in the darkness. And then that's when Raven texted her words that came from a place of compassion and hope and healing.
Mhm.
So the idea is not to blame the outer world. Why? Why should we try not to blame the outer world or those in it? Because when we do, we give our power away to the outer world and those in it. Okay? So now the outer world and those in it, those 8+ billion people in it, have power over us. When we allow the ego to define what they're saying.
Mhm.
Okay? And so the only way to come back to a state of peace is to remind yourself, wait a second. I have the power to control my thoughts. I should be controlling my thoughts. Who is I? The truth in me. Who's the truth in me? Love. So where should my thoughts be? Aligned with love. Okay? So when my thoughts are aligned with love, I have control. Not the ego, not his past programs, not his judgment-centric, fear-based programs. I do. And then when I become a light, a torch of compassion, then I help guide those around me, let them see that there is a way to compassion. There's a way to the light inside of them. And so that's what Wendy provided. She provided an opportunity for Raven to shift her perception, which, of course, the Miracles calls a miracle. And so the idea here is remind yourself, start to notice when you are in control of your thoughts or when the ego is in control of your thoughts. That's key. Okay? And so if you're reacting to your daughter with forgiveness, with compassion, with mercy, with grace, with whatever she says, because what is she really saying? There's only two things she can really say, right? No matter the thousands of things the ego says that your daughter can say, there's only two things she can say. She can say something from a place of love or from a place of a call for love, right? And so how do you respond to when your daughter says something from a place of love? You respond to it, obviously, with love. How do you respond when your daughter calls out for love? Simple, with love. Okay? And so just practice remembering I control my thoughts. My thoughts should not be controlling me. I control my thoughts when my thoughts are aligned with love. My thoughts are controlling me when my thoughts are aligned with the ego's mindset and programs and tools, judgment-centric, fear-based. Okay? So just if you can just practice recognizing if you are in control of your thoughts or if the ego's in control of your thoughts, you've gone far today. Because here, the correction resides inside of you, inside your mind. Okay? The correction is not out here in the world. It's inside your mind. It's I'm going to choose to see my daughter and what she says only as love or a call for love. And I'm going to answer love with love. And I'm going to answer a call for love with love. And where is that going to put you? In a state of peace. Why? Because you're fulfilling your function as the light of the world that God created you to be. In each moment and in each interaction, God put you there. God put you there to reinforce your true nature, which is love, which is peace. And God put your daughter there, Raven there, in Wendy's experience, so that Wendy can practice taking back control of her thoughts. so that Wendy can practice remembering that she can control her thoughts, and therefore she can control her state of peace or her state of anxiousness. When you align your thoughts with love, peace results. When you let the ego control your thoughts, anxiousness, confusion, chaos, conflict result. Okay? So, yes, don't allow the world to control over you, take control over you. And when you're saying she's irritating me, AKA the world is irritating me, AKA anybody else is irritating me, you're saying you're giving away your power to them. And then you wonder why you feel powerless and out of control and out of balance and lacking peace or joy. Why? Because you gave all your power away to those 8 billion people out there and those 8 billion situations out there. And if 8 billion situations and people have power over you, what are you going to feel? Powerless, out of control, out of balance, sad, depressed. Okay? So you, in the end, simply by recognizing who's in control of your thoughts, what happens? If you simply can find out who is in control of your thoughts in each and every moment, what happens? You either create heaven or hell on earth for yourself and those around you. Okay? So do you want to live in heaven or do you want to live in hell on earth? That's the choice you make in each moment, in each situation, in each interaction. Wendy decided this time, I'm going to choose to live in heaven instead of hell. So how do you get to heaven? By aligning your thoughts with love. What's one of love's expressions? Compassion. So compassion led Wendy to a miracle, which led her to heaven. Instead of the usual little game she plays with Raven and anybody who could create conflict, which leads her to hell and anxiety. Okay, so now Wendy's starting to realize, you know what? I am worthy of peace. I am worthy of heaven, living in heaven on earth. Okay? So when she starts to recognize that, she'll start to react more with compassion and creating those miracles. And it all comes from taking control of your own thoughts and seeing where your thoughts are taking you.
James, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Before I ever saw the message from Raven, I was coming home from work and I was talking to my older sister, and she was just reading me like 15 profound thoughts or something she came across. And one of the lines that she read to me was this one, which I will permanently tattoo it on my brain. And it says, if it costs you your peace, the price is too high. And I find that very valuable. And I think maybe when I'm struggling, like with Raven or whatever else, if I can remember that, then I'll know that it's just do whatever I have to do to do what I did, to repeat what I did today, which is to convert exactly what you were talking about, to convert the experience internally, show love back, no matter what was shown to me on the way in. And I mean, if this small thing could make her apologize for not being compassionate to me, I mean, I just cannot, I cannot tell you. Only somebody who's been listening to me talk about my child for all 15 months that I've been doing this could understand the magnitude of that miracle that she wrote to me, that she, is sorry she's not as compassionate as she could be. That was like, I don't know, I could do cartwheels if I were in better shape and a lot younger. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments or questions on Wendy's situation?
Just that I love that, and I've experienced the same with my daughter, who was I couldn't she's been here close to me, so I didn't want to talk about her, but I told her I was going to talk about her anyways. just in case she has something to say. But I've experienced the same type of behavior when she doesn't like to be questioned, and she recognizes that she's been gone overboard and been nasty, for lack of a better word, or whatever you want to call it. She has come back and recognized it, and actually being silent has helped me. I think someone was talking about that on class on Sunday, about just being silent versus, because I have a tendency to talk, and I think that has given her the opportunity to recognize too what's going on and what is needed, and what needs to be or corrected, I guess I would say. So I'm just excited for you, Wendy, and excited that it does work. Yeah.
Thank you,
What?
Yvonne. Me too.
Very nice, very nice.
Yes, and remember the ego is always going to answer first and loudest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, your daughter's going to say something, and then your ego is going to demand judgment. Okay? Don't punish yourself for that. Just recognize. Okay, the ego always answers first and loudest. I'm going to take a breath now. The ego made a recommendation of judgment. I know where judgment takes me, right? Nowhere near the state of peace. And now I'm going to take a breath, deep breath, bring peace in, let it flow into my body like a waterfall, peace. And then fill myself with peace, and then answer from a place of peace. Okay? So when those people who make nasty comments, right? Nobody who's fully healed or fully at peace or fully joyful makes nasty comments, right? Only those who themselves are hurt or asleep to who they truly are make those kind of comments, right? So all those kind of comments in truth are just a call for help and healing, right? And so the proper response to call for help and healing is to help and heal, to lead them back to the light inside of them. Some expression of love that can shift and blow away the expression of darkness that the ego seems to be demanding. And so, yeah, also being silent is a perfectly useful tool. It's a very useful tool, not to dive into the madness, okay? Not to dive deeper into the delusion of what's going on, okay? Because it's very easy for the ego to do what it does, which is judge. Have you judge your brother or sister for what they said, then you remain in the state of judgment and fear along with your brother and sister, right? And then you guys create a little hell environment, right? And so instead of responding with judgment, you respond with silence. And you use that silence, that moment of silence, those moments of silence, to take back control of your thoughts, to realign your thoughts instead of with judgment, with compassion, instead of with condemnation, with mercy, instead of with resentment, with grace. Okay? And so you use the silence to come back to sanity, to go from insanity to sanity. And so slow down time. Whenever things seem to be too hectic and out of balance, slow down time. How do you slow down time? Through silence, through quietness, okay? Through remembering where these thoughts take you, that my own thoughts can take me to hell or heaven. I can choose right now, no matter how bumpy the situation is, right now, I have one choice to make. Am I going to choose heaven or hell? It's my choice because God gave me free will. And so nobody is in charge of me living in heaven or hell. Nobody other than me. No, nobody, whatever anybody says around me, they cannot deliver me to heaven or hell. Because in the end, I define whatever it is they're saying. And so I take myself to heaven or hell. And we've already taken ourselves to hell enough times to know that we don't belong there. We don't belong hating others. We don't belong judging our brothers and sisters when they're simply asleep to who they truly are. We belong being a light in the world. That's what God created us to do. And we're only ever going to feel fulfilled when we're doing what God created us to do in each moment and interaction, to be that light through the expression of love that the moment is requesting. The moment may be requesting compassion or kindness or generosity or mercy or grace or hope or healing. One of those expressions of love is what God put us here in this moment to be and share with your brothers and sisters. And by sharing it with them, you guide them to a place of peace. You guide them back to the light within them. You guide Raven back to the understanding that in this moment she can choose a way to peace, a way back to compassion, a way back to kindness from the dark world where she was living in. And so that becomes a miracle. And the beauty is that we can create that miracle in each interaction, in each situation, in each moment. It doesn't have to be just this miracle happened today between Raven and Wendy. Oh, it was so incredible. No, this can happen in every situation, in every interaction. We have this choice to lead our brothers and sisters back to the truth in them, which is the love that they are. Any comments or questions or examples of trying to come back to peace from a hellish place? Let's see. So Yvonne, tell us about your daughter and how you've been shifting it from a hellish situation to a heavenly situation. How are you leading her back to peace?
Less, I guess, less questions, less inquisition for sure. More invitation and acceptance of her. Obviously, less judgment. You want like I can't think of a concrete example right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of times judgments comes from a place where you believe that you have the answers to what her life should look like. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And that's not just you.
I do.
Yeah. that's not just you. That's
kidding.
That's everybody, right? And so what happens is that our mind says, our ego says, I'm her mother, I'm her father. Okay. I know what's best for her. Okay. And then because what I believe, she doesn't believe or he doesn't believe, then there's conflict and chaos and confusion, right? So one thing we can practice doing is practice trusting God more and saying, okay, my daughter or son, they're in a difficult place right now, but after all is said and done, God is in control, and God is leading them in the best way that He can back to an alignment with the light inside of them.
Right.
And so I'm going to use this moment right now, not to judge their journey, but to trust in the divine. And knowing that the divine has my daughters and sons back, and that all will be okay. And yes, they might trip and fall. And yes, they might have a legal issue here and there. But they will be okay. I had some legal issues when I was younger. And I'm doing okay right now.
I know. Actually, I have an interesting example. It was a little like things, the tables were turned a little bit. She actually was schooling me on, she's in the medical field, so she knows I'm into a lot of holistic things, and she was telling me about certain things, and I was a little skeptical about, what she was saying, and she kept insisting, and she got a little irritated with me because she felt like I was being resistant. And then I told her, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And I'm trying to process it, and I will do my due diligence. And not that I don't believe what you have to say. But she was really getting hyped up. And I think just hearing me say, I hear you, and that's it. She needed to hear that, because she really thought that I was telling her she was wrong when I wasn't. But I also wasn't agreeing, which I just wasn't. Not to be, not to take the opposite stance, but just because that's what I thought that's where I was being authentic, right? But I was calm, because she was getting a little altered, and I felt it inside. I'm like, "Oh, she's gonna bite me or something," because she just, wants to hear something. And but I was able to stay calm, and tell her, reflect to her what it seems like she wanted to hear or needed to hear, and it just calmed everything. So that was really nice, because I know she was trying to connect. And I didn't come from the perspective of, I know everything and I know what's right and you don't know what you're talking about. um I listened to her, and yeah, and validated her, and that was good for both of us.
Yeah, because I mean, in the end, all she's trying to do is really love you in the best way that she can in that moment, right?
Connect.
Yeah, she's using the information that she knows, okay, and she's offering that information to you, and it's a form of offering you love, the way she's offering you love, right? And then when you're not hearing her, what she's believing is that you're not receiving that love. Okay, you're blocking that love. Okay, and
Yes.
and so unconsciously, she's saying, "My mom is blocking the love that I'm trying to offer her right now." Okay, and then obviously she's going to feel negative about that, right?
Right.
You're thinking you're being authentic, right? Because you're standing up for what you believe, right? And you think you're doing nothing wrong because you're just being authentic, right? But she's what she's seeing is somebody blocking her love, her attempt to love, right? And so she's feeling bad about that, right?
Yeah.
And so after you kind of unconsciously recognize that, you started to say, okay, yeah, I hear you, you know. And so whenever somebody expresses themselves, it's useful to not argue the point, let's say.
Yeah, but I remember one thing prior to that. Actually, she had insulted one of my parenting skills when she was younger, or I guess it was an insult. Like she works with a dermatologist. So when she was younger, when my kids were younger and they had warts, I would use apple cider vinegar. And now, I mean, they burn them off and she's like, I can't believe you made me do that and smell like that. Like, why? You just could have taken me in. It's just not, it's something non-toxic. And I was like, oh boy, And I was like, well, I actually didn't know much about that burning process. And I was very holistic and, so I used the apple cider vinegar, you know. I apologize if that traumatized you. I did. I mean, I tried to say it not sarcastic, but
No, no,
well,
that's a great thing. No.
fine, it was sarcastic. But yeah. Yeah, she was a bit on the attack and then came the other stuff. So it was a little but
Yeah,
it ended nicely. It
yeah,
ended nicely, but it's always interesting when your kids bring up, things from childhood that that you could have done differently.
yeah. I mean, we go,
Yeah.
they're gonna do that, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's,
I'm like, you better practice now because you're gonna do stuff to your kids. So start accepting, you
God,
know?
Ron, if that's the worst thing she can pin on you, you deserve a trophy.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously. I tell my kids that all the time. You wanna be mad at me because I didn't let you have sugar for, this amount of time? That's fine. I can live with that. But yeah.
yeah. So just pay attention when you're being triggered, and calm down, take a breath, forgive. We use a lot of forgiveness. Forgive their misperceptions.
Yeah. Sometimes I like with my mom, I have to walk away a little. And because with my mom, I don't go back and forth. She's too old for that. And it's not a kind thing to do. But I do need to walk away sometimes because she's got a loose tongue there. And she just says what she thinks and doesn't matter.
Yeah, that goes with the whole silence thing. The walking away. It's
Yeah.
perfectly fine to walk away and give yourself some time and give them some time. It's perfectly fine. So if you feel like you need to walk away from mom for X or Y reason, or that's okay. You do it. If that's the most loving thing you can do in the moment, then that's what you do. And so yes,
That and singing loudly. No, kidding.
yes.
No, I try not to do that. She does not like that.
Uh okay. That's because she doesn't know talent when she hears it.
Yes. No, that's because I'm trying to drown out whatever she's saying, so I don't hear it. That's what that is. Yeah, but that's sweet of you. Talent. Yeah. Yeah. It skipped my kids sing very nicely, but it skipped me. But I sing anyways, though.
It's good. Yes. And how about you, Roberta? How's everything with your daughter doing?
Good. You actually answered one of my questions today. I actually asked Holy Spirit, why do I get triggered by her questions? Like I'm busy at work and she's texting me silly questions, not silly, but I guess I get triggered by it. But that was a good way when you were explaining it to Yvonne that she's trying to connect and what she's asking questions or she's complaining about the other drivers or calling me so much during busy times. That's a good way of saying it, that it's love.
Yeah, she's in essence expressing a form of saying that that she loves you by asking you your advice in that situation. You know, and so yes, it is a form of it's a beautiful thing that your daughter tries to ask you questions and tries to get your advice on certain things, even if they sometimes seem a little too triggering or whatever it is.
Yes, maybe because what you said before, we want to place our expectations on them, like be more independent, like ask me substance questions or important items. But yes, I guess I'm picturing her how, or ego's picturing her how I would like her to be.
Right. Yeah, that's key. Is the ego is picturing her.
Yeah.
And she's perfect exactly the way she is. because she, along with God, have co-created a perfect journey for her. And so she will grow exactly when she needs to grow at her perfect time and pace, right? It's only the ego who judges God's co-design with her.
Yeah.
So if your ego is judging the way she's growing, the way she's chosen to grow along with God, they set up this perfect plan for her. God and her set up a perfect plan of growth, and so she's growing exactly at the time that she needs to grow, right? And it's only when your ego gets involved that you judge the way she chooses to grow, right? So anytime there's a judgment about her journey, remember it's not about her; it's about you choosing that judgment. So you're choosing in essence a lack of peace, and you're in essence saying, "God, I don't trust you." Okay.
True.
So if you're unconsciously saying, God, I don't trust you with my daughter, you're never going to have peace. And so what you always want to practice doing is practice remembering, okay, wait a second. My daughter's journey is perfect for her. Okay. My daughter co-created her journey with God. Of course, I can put my input. I'm her mother. I can put my input. But in the end, after all is said and done, God is in control. God is perfect love. And perfect love only wants the best for your daughter. Whatever the best you want for your daughter, trust me, that the infinite wants infinite times more than you do for your daughter. And so, as much as you love her, God loves her infinite times more.
Yeah.
So,
I think that ego compares it because I just moved in with my son into a mother and daughter house, and my daughter too, everyone. And with my son, I'm able to separate. I'm able to just let him have his path, and I don't judge what's going on with him and his wife, or I just leave it alone. But I'm able to say, oh, okay, it's an ego thing, and I leave it alone. But with her, I'm always on top of her. I get triggered more. So it's kind of funny.
yeah, so in essence, she's helping you unconsciously practice trusting God more. Okay.
Mm.
Because when you somehow feel it, you need to be in somewhat control of her path and journey, or you're judging her path or journey. You're saying that your plan for the universe, your plan for her, is is better than God's plan for her. So what is she really doing?
She's reminding me.
She's giving you opportunities to practice putting this moment in God's hands. And the more you get to practice putting the moment in God's hands by not judging her journey, the more peace you're going to have. Right? And the more peace you're going to have, the more peace you're going to reflect, and then the more at peace she's going to be. But it's because you chose to trust God instead of your ego. You chose to decide God, she's in your hands. Whatever her journey is, that's perfect for her. I'm going to trust that. Just as I do so with my son, I'm going to do this with my daughter. Because a lot of times, unconsciously, we think of our daughters as weaker than our sons, or we have to take more, or we have to make our daughters safer than our sons. You know, that's an unconscious thing.
True.
But as you are able to put your son's life in God's hands by not judging his journey, your daughter's offering you that opportunity to do the same with her, to practice trusting God more. So when you realize what's really happening is that your daughter is helping you trust God more, your daughter is helping you see that you can have peace instead of the hellish mindset of the ego, then your response to your daughter becomes one of gratitude for her teaching.
Mm.
And so each and every time the ego says, I need to judge my daughter, say, no, 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 no. I've played that game 100 times before. It never delivers me peace or my daughter peace. I'm going to see what's happening right now. What's really happening right now. What's really happening is my daughter is offering me the opportunity to remember that God is in control. that perfect love has my daughter's back, that all will be all right. That because I can put my trust in God, then I can have peace. And I can become a beacon of peace for my daughter. And so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, folks. Any final comments or questions or remarks in regards to anything we said tonight?
Just thank you.
Yes, thank you.
It's a lot of good
Yeah.
daughter.
Many thank yous.
Thank you, James.
All right.
Thank you,
folks.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.